Do you know what today is? It's Friday, baby. We ain't got no jobs and we ain't got to do. I got my man John Chapman here, and we're going to break down the 90-man roster. Yes, it's filled up. Stick around right here on the Wayne Breezy Show with John.
Breezy this, breezy that. They know I'm gold-blooded. I got the Niners on my back, you know. Breezy this, breezy that. Ain't nobody working like Breezy, and that's a fact.
He's in the building today. John Chapman is back. What's going on, baby?
Man, it's Friday. We've got our roster set. We have the toys that we know we're going to get to play with for the next year. I'm excited. This is a great it's so fun because the way the NFL does everything, there's constant movement and storylines and whatever else. But the fact that we have our initial 90-man, it's going to change. It always does. But we finally got there, and through the draft, through free agency, through all that stuff. And man, I'm just going to be honest. Team's shaping out nicely. Very, very nicely.
Yeah, the team is definitely shaping out very nicely. Shout out to everybody that's out there. The Breezy's Bunch is in the building. Niner Rich is in the building. Jax Knox is in the building. Boss is in the building. VZ408, Nia, Christy Marie, Ronnie 33, my man Colin Peachy's in the building. Shout out to all the Breezy Bunch members. I tell you what, look, both of it is streaming on both channels, so make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels. All right, you got the 49ers Rush channel. You got the Wayne Breezy channel. We're bringing you 49ers content daily, 365 days a year. We may take a break occasionally, but you're getting some of the best content creation right here, right with my man John Chapman. Shout out to all the subscribers to the channel. And if you're new to either one of our channels, all you got to do is click on subscribe. Don't forget to like the podcast, all right? Don't forget to like the broadcast, all right? You can do it by just clicking that little thumbs up button, all right? The description of the channels will be in the show, and so you guys can check that out. Click on it as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the Wayne Breezy Show podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. It's brand new, but it's doing really well thanks to you. I want to give you guys a round of applause out there. Twitter, you can follow and subscribe to, as well as the Wayne Breezy, Instagram and Facebook at the Wayne Breezy. And for exclusive content, I mean, if you want extra content with your boy Breezy and special guests, make sure you guys go to www.patreon.com/Wayne Breezy. John, I missed you. I've seen you Tuesday, but it's Friday. It's a long period of time.
Especially after the draft, right? Like we got a little extra last week.
We got a lot extra last week, and it's good to have you back. It's good to sit here and chop it up and end the weekend. This is the nightcap of the week for me because I don't do much content. I don't go live on the weekends. So this is going to be really cool. Shout out to the Countdown crew in the building as well. I see them all in here, John. You got them in here, bro. I love it. The Countdown crew and the Breezy's Bunch is in the building. What's going on, Leslie? What's going on, Kylie? I see you guys out there. John, let's not waste much time and let's get down to some of the nitty-gritty of the stuff that's going down with the 49ers. We got some 49er dates that we want to remind people of, all right? And we'll go ahead and get that stuff kicked off. Now, this is really cool because the schedule releases May 11th, and we'll break each one down for everybody. We'll spend a little time. Rookie minicamp is May 12th through the 13th. OTAs voluntary, May 22nd to the 23rd, the 25th, 30th through the 31st, June 2nd, June 5th through the 6th, and then it ends on June 8th. And then you have minicamp, mandatory, June 13th through June 15th. John, let's start with the schedule release. All right. Predict. Let's give me one of your schedule predictions, not the points in the games, but when we're gonna play and who we're gonna play them. Give me one that you might feel like is gonna come to fruition. Everybody else out there in the chat, go ahead and post it in the chat.
My number one goal, if I could have one thing happen, it would be for that Jaguars game to be in London. That's the number one goal. Last year, man, you and I, we went down to Mexico.
Woo.
We had a great time despite you arriving in different places.
We don't even talk about the party much, John. The party was off the hook.
Man. Yeah, it was nuts.
I fell asleep. Really good time. John took pictures. Here's why I fell.
Bus, yeah.
But so John, I fell asleep because of John. So John had me up at the ass crack of dawn to go set up at the place and he was back chilling with the people. So
Oh,
I'm here with people, and I can't speak Spanish. I can't speak the language. I'm just I found the McDonald's. I ate, and they got the itis. I went to sleep on the bus.
hey
It is what
man.
it is.
Nothing wrong with that. We crushed it that day, though. And that's the thing is like, as we keep building this road trip thing, it's providing fans with a better experience and bringing the community together. Which there's nobody better than Breezy at that. And so I'm pumped, man. I'm really excited. And the schedule comes out next Thursday, which means Friday morning, you and I be right back on here.
And we get to see how right or how wrong we are for our
Yeah,
schedule
I
predictions.
really want that London game, man.
It's got to be okay. When do you think the game will be?
I think it will offset. Well, we'll have a bye week right afterwards. So if I want London week 9, bye week 10.
Yeah,
That's what I want. That's
I
what I'm
wasn't thinking, John, when I filled out my schedule prediction. I totally forgot that the Jags get the London game. I forgot about the rumors of us going to London to play. And then after you travel that far, you usually do get the bye week. And I just messed up my whole thing. But I don't care. I don't care. I had fun filling it out. I'm going week 1, Philadelphia.
Ooh,
I want to get that shit out the way. I want to
ooh.
mud stomp the city of Philly. Um, and I mean mud stomp. I just want to beat the city down. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
Debo agrees with you.
And we'll get to that. Like, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy, right? And so look, I'm thinking it's gonna be Philly week 1. Now I don't know if it's gonna be a Monday night game, Sunday night game, but week 1, that needs to go down. That'll be great for television. Um the only reason that I think they may make it wait is because do you think the league wants Brock Purdy to play in that game?
Usually the biggest game week 1 is the Super Bowl winners, right? They get that Thursday night game, whatever else. But they usually don't go a lot of big time matchups week 1. Sachin said, I'm here and I hate that. I'm from
You,
here and I hate the city.
you
That
can't
is
you
awesome.
can't hate the city you from, man.
That's great, man. That cracks me up.
Oh, I
But yeah,
love it.
usually they don't do a lot of blockbuster games week 1 because any week, if you put 49ers versus Eagles, that's the game of the week for any week of the
I
whole
get what you're
entire
saying.
year. So a lot of times the networks will ask them to kind of sandbag that matchup because that'll be the premier matchup later on down the road. I want it to be week 1 as well, but I do somehow doubt that's what it's going to be.
It needs to be week 1. We left that city with a bad taste in our mouths, and I want to correct. I want to correct what happened. I mean, we left because of what happened in the game. It's kind of hard for me to sit there and say that Philly had a great game plan and they won the game. Now that looking back in hindsight, dude, we didn't have a quarterback to throw a football. So I
Nah.
mean, it's pretty easy to tee off on a team without a quarterback. Not taking away from their win. I mean, they got their ass whipped in the Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying like we'll be full throttle. It'll be, and the reason why I want it to be week 1 is because you're going into the game, hopefully injury less with players. You got full throttle of players. Everybody's healthy, and now you can really test the war, like health on health, and let them go at it. Because I don't think their
Yeah.
coach is a great head coach. I just think that he just does shit unorthodox. He'll just go for it on every 4th down. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of who he is.
I'm not the biggest fan, but the one thing that there are some things that he does that are positive, but I don't like. I think Steichen was a huge part of that. Their D line coach, huge part of that, and they lost a lot. They lost a whole bunch. We talk about the Niners losing so much of their coaching staff every year, and they do. But Kyle Shanahan just continues to prove I'm the guy. I'm him. Like I am the offense. I don't know about that with the Eagles. We'll see. There's a lot to find out this year. That's what I got to say. Now, the roster's incredible. I think the 49ers and the Eagles have the 2 best rosters in the NFL. And if their quarterback plays at that high level, Jalen Hurts, if he continues, then they're going to be a part of it, for the next, 5-6 years. But it's these two. It's the juggernauts, man. Niners, Eagles. So
Why not? Why not? Thursday night game is, I don't know. It's usually
Thursday
like
night game's usually the Super Bowl champion for week 1.
Right. Peachy says John and Wayne, so 49ers rush road trip across the pond? Absolutely.
I will never miss another 49ers international game. That was
Ever.
such an experience.
it was an experience. It definitely was. Listen, John, rookie minicamp begins May 12th through the 13th. And now this is going to be the end of those players that got invited. Now the roster is filled. So why would the 49ers invite other players to the rookie minicamp?
Well, like for example, there's not a quarterback there's not a rookie quarterback. There's not an undrafted rookie quarterback. You've got Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen. None of those guys are allowed to participate in the rookie minicamp.
So who's
So
going to throw the ball?
they'll have guys that they invite out that will come out that have not
Okay.
been placed on teams yet. So yeah, they have to place that now. They're pretty full everywhere else. And if you look at the undrafted free agents that they signed, they pretty much hit every single position group. But for 11 on 11s, like they signed 3 offensive linemen as UDFAs. You add in the draft picks they didn't draft any. So you got to bring in a couple more just so you can get some 11 on 11s on.
Now, what rookie quarterback was invited to the minicamp? I don't remember seeing a report about
I don't
that.
know the answer to that. It'd probably be like a local kid,
Okay.
one that nobody thought was going to be drafted, but's from the area, and they'll kind of throw a bone. A lot of times you can do this to throw a bone with, different contacts or whatever. If, Herm Edwards has a quarterback that, it helps them out a little bit. And so there's a lot of back scratching that takes place with this, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they kind of look to help each other out. If you look at a lot of the people that signed even undrafted free agent grades, Oregon State, right? You got Washington, Hawaii. You get a lot of these local specific schools, the rookie workouts, even more so. San Jose State, you'll get some of those guys, a lot of local guys.
All right, guys, pay attention to the local guys coming in. Let's talk about the voluntary OTAs
Sack
that are
State
going to.
is what I meant to say. Sorry about that. I'm
No
sure
problem.
somebody caught that.
We got the OTA voluntary practices. Keyword voluntary. Please make sure you explain to the faithful what it means for it to be voluntary, because I don't want people freaking out when Debo doesn't show up to these, or Brandon Ayuk or these type of players.
Yeah, so this is whenever the contracts get done, and these are the workout bonuses. This is what a workout bonus is. Now, with certain players, it's very important that you keep them around you so you can check on their weight, you can check on their shape, and how all that stuff. Other guys you don't give a damn about. Bosa's not going to be there. Bosa does his own thing with his brother and his dad and his uncle in Florida, and they just leave him be. But if there's some guys where you're trying to monitor their body, somebody like an Aaron Banks, who undertook a massive transformation that first year that he redshirted to last year when he was awesome, like guys like that, you're going to want to check up on. And a lot of guys like Javon Kinlaw, he's there all the time. Anybody you talk to, whether it's Lynch, Peters, Shanahan, they're going to say, oh, Kinlaw's here every day. Like, he's always there. He's a workout warrior. He wants to be seen. He's trying to prove himself to this organization. You don't got to worry about him. But, yeah, some guys, we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a few guys that are kind of a surprise that are away, but it's not a big deal. If Brandon Ayuk's not there, it's not a big deal.
Okay, so not a big deal. And then finally you get to the mini camp, which is going to kick off June 13th through the 15th. All right, now that's mandatory. That means players must attend that 3-day session.
Yeah, and that's the beginning of install. Like, that is number one. It's a lot of conditioning, and it's just our chief basics on literally everything, but mostly conditioning. It's not super football intensive, even though it is. It's got that there. It's, look, guys, this is where we want you to be. This is where your body should be. If it's not here now, you better change some things. Oh, by the way, here's our playbook. This is the very skim level basics. And then they'll go back over that once they come back for training camp.
Spot on. We got a super chat contribution I want to kick off the show with. Jax Knox is in the building. My favorite 2 people to do it. Let's go. I'm learning a lot, so thank you guys. And thank you for the contribution, Jax. She's probably going to be in London. She was already talking about it. I saw it in the chat. She's going to be waiting for that 49ers Rush road trip experience. It'll be her first, all right? Kylie has a question. He says, hey, any worries our defense could take a step back with Steve Wilks as the defensive coordinator? What are your thoughts about this?
I don't – it's easier to take a step back when you're the best in the world at everything. Like, there has not been that many teams that have been number one in yards allowed and points allowed in the same year. It's happened like once in the past decade. So it's pretty difficult to say, man, they're going to step up. But, man, you look at this roster, what did they lose? They lost Samson Ebukam, right? They lost Azeez. That's pretty much it. The entire roster, and I would say the Javon Hargrave signing definitely was a huge step up from those two, even though they play different positions. But I don't know, man. You look at the way that they drafted, right? And a lot of defensive guys traded up for a safety. You got a corner, you got an edge, you got a linebacker, you got another linebacker. I don't know, man. It's weird to say, but this defense could be better. It really, really could.
I agree with you. I wouldn't say that they're going to take a step back, Kylie. I'm going to look at it a little bit different. It might be a little step to the side until they
Yeah.
get into swing on what Steve Wilkes is asking for. You heard Fred Warner speak about it at the presser, and the number one thing that Fred Warner kind of touched on it. He wants his players to play a lot more aggressive. So that means they're going to be playing more aggressive. They're going to be taking more risks, taking more shots, and I don't want you to feel or anybody to feel like that's taking a step backwards if they're not playing safe, right? They're going to be playing and going for the gusto just about on every play. So, like, you might see a blitz on first down. You can be like, what the hell? We ain't never seen that before, right?
Huff's
So,
going to blitz more.
yeah,
Huff's going to
right,
blitz more.
right,
And the linebackers are going to blitz more. And the
right.
nickels are going to blitz more.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm saying it might not be a step back. They might drop in a couple of rankings as far as things. I wouldn't count that as a step back. Let them step to the side. But at the end all be all, they'll end up being number one. Like, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like how I'm thinking. You got to get Steve Wilkes' philosophy down packed, and then it'll come to fruition. Jason Hess says, Breezy Chapman, do we see the possibility ever seeing Armstead losing 15 pounds and playing outside? Crazy question. Just curious.
Man, I don't know. We saw him play edge a lot. He kept his weight. I think he's more valuable and more productive inside. And so I don't expect that to change. If you go back, do you remember when the Niners defense was bad 2 years ago? And then what did they do? They did one thing. They just put him inside. They put him inside, and it was just done. DUN. Defense is great again. And so I don't know. I don't think you play with it. It works. And we've never seen, well, even whenever we had DeForest Buckner, Armstead was playing outside mostly. So this would be his first time again, with paired up with an elite defensive tackle on the inside as a defensive tackle himself. I wouldn't mess with it. It's working, and it's great for the linebackers. So, like, again, if you want all-pro Fred, and I would argue Drake Greenlaw had a top 5 linebacker year last year as well. A big part of that is Eric Armstead.
Good points. We were talking about hate. And not that we're just throwing a word or using it. But, Debo came out. Right. Debo, in his latest meeting, came out and said that, the one team he hates the most is the Philadelphia Eagles. And so I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on that? Why the Eagles? Why do you think it's the Eagles for Debo Samuel?
I think the Niners heard a whole bunch last year about how great the Eagles are, and just, they're cut above everybody else and blah, 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 blah. But the last time they played, the Niners beat them in Philly. And so you had this anticipation. The NFC Championship happens. They're talking trash. We're talking trash. Fans doing nothing but talking trash. Hasten. And then, second offensive play of the game, Brock Purdy's hurt. So it never got solved. And Debo was convinced and adamant, and so was Brandon Ayuk, that, man, they were going to roast the hell out of those corners. Like, they were excited about it. And so that opportunity got taken away from them. And then everybody starts talking trash and whatever else. So I get it. I get it. Eagles aren't on my top list of hate. I want to see them play. I just want to see them play. For me, it's not so much about hate with the Eagles, because I've liked the Eagles for a long time. I hate the Cowboys. And so by proxy, I usually like the Eagles.
Right.
Yeah, just because I'll root for anybody in the NFC East over the Cowboys. So, but that's just my childhood and whatever else.
That's funny. I like that you said that. And you broke the proxy down. Nee says, I thought he said he hated the Rams. I think he hated playing Jalen Ramsey the most. I think that's the player that he just couldn't stand. So that's why he made sure he went out there and did his thing against Ramsey.
Hate is not exclusive. You can hate lots of things.
Absolutely.
Just like you can love lots of things. Like you can love sweeping your division and going 6-0 and then winning an extra divisional game in the playoffs. You go at 7-0 again. I love that. That's a positive. That's 7 things I love, right?
Yeah.
So just to weigh that.
Right, and it's funny that you said that because Cinemacus says I hate the Cowboys and Seahawks. And John, behind backstage, we were talking about this. You asked me what teams did I hate the most, and I told you it was the Cowboys. But then I told you about the Seahawks, right? And so the Seahawks left just a bad taste and gave me a bad traumatic type of an experience, you know. And so I always have this whenever I don't care. I don't care if their team is the worst team in football. Like I'm not going to like them. I'm going to hate them for the remaining time they remain the Seahawks. Even if they change their name and stay in the division, I'm going to hate them. I just don't like them for what happened. And for those that don't know, it was a birthday party. It was the NFC Championship game that I was having, and I left my own birthday party. You know how the results ended. And so when you leave your own birthday party, that's when you know it's bad.
It's your party, and you can cry if you want to.
I didn't cry. I didn't want to break shit in somebody else's place. So I think the best thing for me to do was to leave.
I love
those TVs were on their way out. But no, seriously, man, it's you definitely can dislike or detest, or if you want to use the word hate, a lot of things, you know. And so when I look at the team and we look at the Seahawks, let's talk about the Seahawks because John Lynch spoke about the Seattle Seahawks and how they felt like the Seahawks, that it's the team. That's the team that they're going to be not worried about the most, but like they've gotten better. Like, and so what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the draft grades and whatever else, but again, we never know. They've added a lot of premier talent. They've added a lot back-to-back years. We'll see how this one pans out. But I do think they closed the gap. Now, the question I go back to is Geno Smith still their quarterback? That's the thing. The ceiling is so limited. If they're
you finished the song.
I love it, man. So yeah, I think the Seahawks close the gap because again, you're just going to dink and dunk with Geno. That's what they're going to do, and so you got on the best dink and dunk wide receiver in JSN. I just recently broke down the Penn State versus Ohio State game back in 2021, where it was JSN versus Ji'Ayir Brown a lot of plays, and Ji'Ayir got some plays, but JSN, he made a lot bigger plays. There's no doubt about it.
Crazy slot guy, man. You give him the ball with space, he's gone.
Yeah,
like,
it's
hard.
They did a good job. They used their resources well. They used my damn draft board. If you were watching us live, especially day 2, they kept drafting my best player available, like over and over and over again. It was pissing me off. One of my favorite players in this whole draft is Derek Hall. One of my favorite players last year was Boye Mafe. Like they have a type on that speed rusher, and now they got 2 of them. They closed the gap, but I still think there's a very large gap there. The Niners are still well ahead, but I do think that it got closed down a little bit. I do.
It's interesting because it seems like when the Niners play the Seahawks, there's no distinctive team that will come out victorious. It's like it can kind of go either way. Even if the Niners are far superior as far as talent, coaching, and all those things, they check all the boxes. Why do the games always seem so kind of close?
Yeah,
like
it's
to
rivalries, man. It just. And I will say this, man. We went with Vicky. Shout out to Vicky if she's watching.
Vicky!
We were at the Thursday night game in Seattle this year. It was my first time to Lumen. That was awesome. It's my favorite stadium in the NFL so far. Like I love the atmosphere, and the fans were legit. They were engaging. They weren't rude. There were a lot of very positive conversations happening between 49ers and Seahawks fans, and it was just a great game. It was just awesome. Like it was the way rivalry should be. And I feel like the more we talk about this, Wade, I got Haters Ball, the Chappelle Show skit, like burning in my head because it's just like, I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and nobody else but you.
Right.
Like,
Chappelle Show.
Ow. Anyway, yeah, I hate them. I do hate them, but I still think there's a gap. You beat them 3 times in a row last year.
Yeah, and they did. But they still were close. They weren't blowout games.
One of them was. One of them could have been.
The first one was.
You remember Drake Greenlaw had that pick 6 or fumble for a touchdown?
And they called it.
Yeah, it was like 25-3.
Wait, wasn't that the same game? Was that the
Mhm.
same game that um oh my gosh, Diamo had a pick
Diamador
six?
Lenore? I think
Yeah.
so. I think
It was
so.
in one of those games. He had a
I've
pick
had a
six and they
lot
called it
of
back.
Dos Equis since then, my friend.
I understand. I understand. My friend. And I'm glad you added the my friend. But guys, I see you guys putting in the chat which team you hate the most. John and I didn't mention the Chiefs, and I saw that some of you guys mentioned the Chiefs out there. I can't stand the Chiefs either, John, now that I think about it. And it's not just because of the Super Bowl win that they had over us. It's just I just don't like the damn organization. I don't know why it turns me off. But what are your thoughts on the Chiefs?
Man, I went to grad school in Kansas City and went to a lot of Chiefs games. I love their fan base because they've sucked for a long time. They've been terrible for a long time. Now they got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and they're really, really good. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't hate the Chiefs. I just don't want to play the Chiefs. I don't want to play Patrick Mahomes ever again. He's really damn good. I don't like the way that they target players with checkered pass all the time, but I mean, there's about 6 teams that do that. But I don't care that much about AFC teams. I'm just going
I
to be
got you.
honest.
I got you. They don't
You don't
really
play them
matter until
enough.
that right, and it doesn't really matter until that game, that one game.
That's it.
It's the one game. I kind of get where you're going with that. And that makes perfect sense. All right, let's keep it moving, man. All right, Brock Purdy updates. So we got the updates, which is not really much of an update other than the
Nothing new.
fact that week 12 he should be throwing. Like let's talk about
But
it. Now,
like I'll say this, I listened to Lynch's thing about oh yeah he's going to start throwing the ball. Like hold on just a second, because I've been with players that have gone through this before in the past. You don't start throwing a football week 12. That
no.
is not what you do.
You start throwing.
You
Big
start
difference.
throwing literally a golf ball. Like
Yeah.
you start with the squishy yellow golf balls. Like
Mhm.
they'll start with that and going through this throwing motion, and they'll do a whole bunch of different workouts, and then they'll rest 2 days, see how the elbow responds. Then they'll upgrade to a real golf ball, then to a tennis ball, then to a bait. Like it's a progress. He's not stepping out doing 7-step drops with the freaking football. That's at the first week of June. That ain't happening. That'd be asinine if they were.
It just seems like the Brock Purdy progression is happening faster than even though
Which
it's
is
on
good. I
time.
hope so.
Even though it's on trajectory, it's on time. It seems like the healing process is speeding up very quickly. And so it's going to be interesting, John. I'm not saying he's going to be ready to go week 1, but if there's a possibility that he's able to go week 1, does he start?
I think they wouldn't be. How many weeks did he practice before that? That's the question. If it's 2 weeks, no, no. Why would you do that? There's no need to do that. And so, like, and again, I'll say this. My favorite thing about the 49ers front office, and this is Shanahan and Lynch, is that I take them a lot of times whenever they say things, they say them intentionally. And like I can run with that. Injuries, they are the most optimistic two people in the freaking world every single time on every single injury. I do not take that. I don't take much in their stock and whenever they talk about injuries. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I'm not being anti them. I love those two guys. I'm glad they run our team, but they do this with every injury. And so they said once the surgery happened, the first checkup is June, the first week of June. That hasn't changed. We haven't even hit the first checkup yet.
It just seems like it seems like he looks better. He's out there flipping hamburgers for all like he's using the elbow like I don't
He's
it just
young, he's 23.
he's yeah, so the healing's gonna happen quicker. Everybody's saying he's got that, what is it, animinium, whatever that stuff is called, inside his blood. I wish I had some of that in my blood, but nah, man, he's healing a lot quicker. But listen, guys, pump the brakes. Right now, it's competition. It's competition. It's competition between two quarterbacks and possibly a third quarterback because Brandon Allen's been brought on this roster. Now, I'm curious to know your thoughts about Brandon Allen being added to the roster. They added a veteran over getting an undrafted free agent, rookie type of a player. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't mind it too much because you've got to counterbalance what you have in the room. You've got Trey Lance 22, Brock Purdy 23, Sam Darnold 25. You go get Brandon Allen, who's 30 years old and a vet. I don't mind that at all. I really, really don't, because the 49ers team is relatively young almost everywhere. And so he's interesting. You know, he's got, 9 career starts. He's been through a lot of training camps, but not a lot of playing time. No real shot to make this roster, but I thought this was smart. Instead of having another rookie that you'd have to work on and teach, no, you don't do it this way, you do it this way. You bring in somebody as that number 3 quarterback arm for camp, because Brock's not going to be there. Even if you think he is adamantium and all that stuff, he's not going to be there for camp.
Correct.
Especially,
He won't be cleared. He won't be cleared medically to be there for camp. He'll be at camp, but he won't be able to participate in camp. So he'll probably show up, say hello, talk to the people on cameras, and then he'll go off to his own private running workout type
and man,
thing.
like, let me just say this. Like, we're in the off season. Do you remember like 2 weeks ago, whenever Brock Purdy was interviewed and he had like that statement? It's like, man, I don't even know if I'll be able to play at all this year. And everybody ran with that. And now he waves at a Giants game, and now everybody's like, oh, he's going to be back ready. Like, nothing has changed. The first checkup is June, the first week of June. So, like, we just got a timeout. Now, once we get that checkup, I'm sure they're going to come out and say, oh, he's ahead of schedule. Everything's looking perfectly, blah, 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 blah. Once you start seeing the videos of him throwing the ball, that is where football, that is when the timeline should start.
Glad you clarified the ball word. Pause. Let's talk about this because mosquito killers. Hey, Wayne and John, can you address the Matt Mayoko comments? And so little does mosquito killer know that that's our next topic. All right, so here it is.
He's on top of it, man. He's on top of it.
Sam Darnold might be the most talented thrower of football the 49ers ever had. Quote, Matt Mayoko via KNBR. Let's talk about this. Mosquitoes ready for it. Mosquito killers ready. John,
Oh,
you got to start it. You got
okay.
it.
Let's do this. Matt Mayoko is incredible, and I'm beyond thankful for everything that he's brought to this franchise and the community, and continues to do so. This was hilarious to me, and I'm not going to lie. Yesterday was not the most productive day for John Chapman because of this quote. If you clicked on the KNBR original tweet, okay, and whenever you go on Twitter, this is awesome. One of my favorite things about it. You click on a tweet on Twitter, and you can click on quote tweets. So it shows you like 500 quote tweets. You click on that, and it shows what everybody quote tweeted it and what they said about it. And it is the most entertaining thing in the world. I don't know if you know this about me, Wayne. I love memes. I am a child. And it was just nothing but gold for hours. And
I'm still laughing. I'm sorry.
I could go back and read it still. Now, Sam Darnold's uber talented. I mean, he was the number 3 overall pick in the draft for a reason. He throws a great ball, very pretty ball. But Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jeff Garcia, John Brody, Colin Kaepernick. I mean, good gosh, you can go on and on and on and on.
Speaking of Cap, when Jaws came out and said what he said, I haven't seen Jaws since the time he made that comment.
That was kind of the beginning of the end, wasn't it?
Is this the end of Matt Mayoko, bro?
No, I hope not. I love Matt. I love what he does.
He's a great guy. Great guy.
But it was a weird statement on live radio, and he is a great thrower of the ball. Like, to be honest, like, you watch his highlights, and that's what Sam Darnold is. He's a highlight-driven quarterback. He makes throws where you're just like, damn. But it's beyond inconsistent. And I love Matt. No, I don't think this is – I hope it's not. I want Matt around for a long time. But, yeah, it was – that's a statement, man. That's a take. And the one thing I go back to is there somebody in the organization that's wanting him to pump up Sam Darnold? Because if there is anybody that's closest and has the most access to the 49ers, it is Matt Mayoko. That's my biggest takeaway from this, but I don't know. I was so happy not talking about quarterbacks for like a week. We didn't even make it a week after the draft.
That was funny. But that's what makes it funny, right? Because I'm saying to myself, look, I'm not saying Sam Darnold is trash or whatever. He does have a great arm. He get the ball down the field. Accuracy, that's another thing But to come out and say ever had, 49ers ever had, I think that's kind of what, if I'm Steve Young or Joe Montana, if I'm Jeff Garcia, if I'm any one of these kind of prominent 49er quarterbacks, shit, Elvis Grbac might want to come back out of retirement and say something. Like I would come out and say, Matt, you sure about that? Like, and
But
and
I'll
then
say
see what
this.
happens.
Yeah, and if Sam Darnold comes out and balls out, we've never seen him in a healthy situation. We've
Oh, he'll
never
be
seen him
right.
surrounded by like if Darnold comes out and beats Trey Lance in a quote unquote competition, then awesome. Like I'm a 49ers guy and we're 49ers content creators. Like
Correct.
I'm not anti Sam Darnold. And anytime I post like here's my problem is, man, I put out there yesterday, Trey Lance will still be the starting quarterback week 1 and people were responding like, "Man, you're so negative," and I was like, "Whoa, why is supporting Trey Lance negative now?" I don't. I didn't say any. I didn't even say Sam Darnold. I didn't even say Brock Purdy. I just said Sam Darnold's going to be starting week 1. I was just retweeting a tweet that I sent out months ago, and like that's the stuff that I don't like. And so I love that Mayoko's pumping Sam Darnold,
Sam
Freudian slip
Bradford
there.
couldn't stay on the field. He
Um,
got paid.
and that's a good thing. The positivity's there, but like once you put it against the other quarterbacks, right? What do you say, like the greatest thrower of the ball the 49ers have ever seen or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like uh, that's where I got problems. You don't have to build up to tear down. And so like you could just build up. You could say like he's a great thrower of the ball, and he is. And it would just what everybody would have moved on. But as soon as you like put him past Joe Montana and Steve Young and Cap and all those guys, then it's like, whoa. Um, and so that's why it drew all that it did. And it's hilarious. I'm gonna go read more of the quote tweets probably
Yeah.
after this show. It's
Yeah.
too fun.
People want to know. Listen, make sure you're following John Chapman on Twitter, and then whenever he responds to something, you'll be linked right to it, right? It'll pop up on his feed, and then you can find the quote tweet and all that good stuff. All right. Listen, Sam Darnold will be competing for that quarterback 1 spot with Trey Lance. John Lynch made that clear as well on KMBR. That's what it's going to come down to. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. It's good to see them both out there, getting acclimated to some football, passing the ball, getting used to their wide receivers. That's what I like. I like that. I like that type of thing and the support. It's a brotherhood at the end of the day. I know it's
Yep.
competition, but those guys are our brothers from another mother, and they're going to have a good time. And I can't wait till things really, really kick off. And speaking of kicking off, John, we have our 90-man roster to break down. All right, 90-man roster. Now this is a breakdown. It's a simple one. We're not going into deep dive depth with this, but we are going to share with you the 90 men that are on the roster. As you can see, we got 12 UDFAs, 9 drafted, 22 free agents, and then 47 players returning to the San Francisco 49ers. If you total them all up, you get 90. Before we get into the roster breakdown, John, we were hanging on to this one spot, and with that one spot, what would have the GM John Chapman done himself with that one remaining spot that we had left?
Yeah, it was interesting. I like the upside pick. They went and went with the wide receiver, which what a cool story. This guy doesn't get one invite. We're talking about Isaiah Winstead, wide receiver, out of East Carolina, the Fighting Pirates, and like his highlight tapes is for real. Now I want to be honest, I have not watched his tape, but he puts his real quick highlight reel out there. It says not one camp invite, not one offer, not one phone call. And it got like 2 million views, and it looked good. He's big, man. 6'3", 210.
6'4".
Yeah, so he didn't do combine, and you're going to pro day measurements. There's different numbers out there, but like, he's shifty for a big dude, and that tape is
4'5".
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's interesting because I don't mind it. I thought it was a good. I like the upside play there. I really, really do. No, Wayne
Hell
says
no.
no.
That ain't the spot. Listen. No, all
Uh-oh.
right. We already had 12 wide receivers, only 6 of them making this roster, if 6. Right? Let's do it. Let's get right to the breakdown. Let's start with the wide receivers, man. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Ray McLeod, Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray. I'm going with the rookie Ronnie Bell. That's your 6. Tay Martin, Chris Conley, Daz Newsome, Tyron Johnson, Willie Snead the fourth, Shea Wyatt, and Isaiah Winstead. I love the kid's story, but isn't it going to be a bit of a long shot?
It is. I mean, he's the 90th on a 90-man roster. But I will say this: if he's not cut, if he's not the first one cut whenever they sign another position,
That's
watch out.
watch
Watch
out.
out.
Watch out. That's
So,
a
like,
great point. Hold on, I got to give you the ding ding.
oh, look at
Pause.
that. I like it. It's like the equivalent. Yeah, it's like getting the gold star when you're in kindergarten. I feel good.
Yes.
I feel validated. Thank you, Willie.
That's a great point. Now that I think about it, but that's 13 wide receivers. John,
It's way too many.
This is going to be crazy. We have more wide receivers than we have DBs. It was even, and I thought it would be in a nice little battle matchup or whatever. But 13.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Jeez.
The one thing I will say about having all these guys, they're great for special teams in camp.
Yes.
So if you want to work because you got speed everywhere, so you want to work punt, you want to work punt return, kickoff return. These back 7 guys, they're going to be on every one of those, and they're just going to run them like a dog because they're wide receivers. They can handle it. They're used to running go routes their whole life. There are a couple names out of this that are interesting. Chris Conley,
Yes.
and Daz Newsome, just from a wide receiver position. I think those two would have the leg up on experience. I like what they bring.
What about Willie Snead the fourth though?
Willie
Another experienced
Snead,
guy.
I think special teams ace, right? That's what we saw. He was activated and promoted from the practice squad a few times, mainly as a blocker, as a wide receiver, and then special teams. He's a stud special teamer. So I don't really have much for Willie Snead as far as the wide receiver position. He's a special teams almost allocation, right? But Tay Martin, this dude's hung around.
And
They kind of like him.
They play
so
Tay. Yeah. I mean,
that's what I'm curious about.
But it's interesting because they brought in so many wide receivers. And then granted, guys can get injured and things like that. And so it's kind of good that you'll be able to check off these guys, get them some work in with the quarterbacks. And, if they do happen to clear the waivers and make the practice squad, that's a great thing for the 49ers. I'm hoping Tay Martin takes a step up. But then they went and drafted Ronnie Bell.
Yeah.
And so when I thought Tay Martin was going to, all right, this might be the year he can take that step up, because with Danny Gray, you're getting speed and you're getting special teams play now from Danny Gray. So I don't think he's going to be bumped off this roster. Like, you want that element there. The question
He's one of the best punt gunners since Raheem Mostert.
See what I'm saying?
Mostert, like, he is that damn good.
He started closing out towards the end of the season, and he was making tackles and getting down there, and you need that speed. Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, I'm scratching my head, bro, because I'm like, wait a minute. Now, technically, we usually keep 5. We're adding a 6 because I see Ronnie Bell making this roster, bro.
He's going to have a good trading camp. I mean, he's a back-end 7th rounder. So, like, you almost want to, like, he doesn't have the draft pedigree behind him. All the teams passed over him several times already. He's a fit, though. You know what I mean? Like, that dude fits this roster, like, in so many ways. Toughness, versatility, or special teams, wide receiver. Like, he is a Shanahan guy through and through. And so I'm with you. I think he does make this roster. Does he have to pass Danny Gray? I don't think so. I think there's room for Danny Gray and Ronnie Bell on this because of special teams.
Because of special teams. And don't forget Ronnie Bell's special teams element too. He's a returner.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you're going to get that as well. Like, it's going to be super interesting. But guys, when you add one more to a position group, that means you're taking one from a position group. Let's not touch the quarterbacks. Let's go running backs. We added a couple of undrafted guys to the running backs room. Now, I put Kyle Juszczyk in there because essentially he's a running back, even though he's labeled as a fullback. But I have the group at 7 with Ronald Awatt and Kaylan LeBourne. And I want to know from this group, running backs group, who do you feel like might be that player we need to watch out? Rookie minicamp is coming up out of those 2 rookies that are there, Ronald Awatt and Kaylan LeBourne.
Yeah, I mean, 2 fun schools. You got Awatt coming out of UTEP, the minors, which I always like UTEP programs. They're kind of fun. They get how do I say this? Like Aaron Jones. I remember watching Aaron Jones play at UTEP against Texas, and it was just like, oh, these guys can play some ball. Then you got Ronald Watt out of Marshall, the Bison, baby. They're fun players. I haven't done a lot of tape on them. I've watched some highlights, but this is a position that's weird to me because, okay, you've got CMC, Juszczyk, and Elijah Mitchell. Those guys are
Locks.
safe locks.
Locks.
You cannot comfortably say, I'm the biggest Jordan Mason guy that
I
exists,
know.
but you cannot say he's a lock. You cannot say TDP is a lock. You cannot say anybody is outside of those three. This is an actual competition. And every year, if you are a 49ers fan, you are by law required to pick an undrafted free agent running back to root for. You have no choice. You have to. So one of these guys will become a fan favorite. But if I had to bet on it, I think it's going to be the exact same five that we had last year. But if a Watt or LeBourne come out of this, man, I think that'd be fun. I really, really do.
Man, it's tough because LeBourne was the 10th rusher out of college. He had 1,513 yards. He was on the same list as your Bijan Robinson and some of those other guys. My guy Tajay Spears was up there as well. And for him to go undrafted is weird, right? I mean, he had kind of a few fumbles or whatnot, but it's going to be interesting to see because who are you kicking off this roster at 5 with 4 being your running backs? Because Kyle Juszczyk is a lock. So Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Mitchell, they're locks. Jordan Mason has to make this roster.
I think he does.
He's a special teams ace, undrafted guy. Ty Davis Price, though, was a drafted guy. You mean to tell me one of these undrafted kids can beat him out?
I don't think so. The only way I see it is they got to be special or an injury has to happen.
Okay.
If somebody gets injured, it gets put on the pup or whatever, that opens up a spot where you could promote them. But again, everybody loves Shanahan running backs. This is always one of the positions. Look at JaMychal Hasty last year.
Yeah.
Like you cut this guy,
Good
they
point.
don't come back. They
Good
don't
point.
come back.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Great point. Out of the wide receivers, we didn't do this. We got 3 wide receivers. I think we mentioned that Ronnie Bell was the guy to watch out for, right? I think that was the one.
Yes.
You said. I'm gonna go with Isaiah Winstead, like and pick a guy that I feel like
That's fun.
he's going to be somebody that you're gonna want to watch out for. Big body guy, Jawan Jennings, faster than Jawan Jennings. I'm not sure how well he blocks. I have not been able to watch film on him. I'm trying to get some on Isaiah Winstead. I would love to see how he is in the blocking game. Interesting point about Winstead, though. John Lynch came out and said that, it wasn't the tweet that made them sign him. They've had him on their radar. So interesting to see if that's true or not.
You brought up blocking grades for Isaiah Winstead. He run blocking had a 61.2 grade. Pretty
I
good,
could dig
actually.
it. I could dig it.
That's pretty good.
I could
And
dig
that
it.
was his worst year in all 4 years. And I know he's credited with East Carolina. He went to Norfolk first, then Toledo for 2 years, then
Yep,
East
and then
Carolina.
East
This dude's a
Carolina.
journeyman.
Yeah, already.
So-
Before his pro career even started. We have a question in the chat from Great One. What's the deal with Jadakiss Bonds? Did we sign him or not? Now, I don't think we signed him. I don't have him as one of the
This
listed.
was one of the earliest tweeted things out there. Niners signed Jadakiss and like all the how do I say this? A lot of people were putting, he signed an undrafted. No, he got an invite to the rookie minicamp. That was it. And then immediately after this, I think it was Barrow saying, hey, just want to let everybody know all the people saying we signed all these players, they're not accurate. And then he came out and said, I have not signed with that team. And so, yeah, just a bunch of people jumping the gun, trying to be the first insider or whatever else. And it went poorly. When keeping it real goes wrong.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
It's just going to be a Chappelle Show reference. That's all we're doing from here on out, baby.
Let's switch over to the tight ends position, all right? So we we drafted 2 guys. We signed a free agent in Ross Dwelly. We currently have 5 in the room. Kittle, Warner, Dwelly, Latu, Willis, Scott McLaughlin. I don't know if I can ever say his name right, but, our old GM said that that's a kid that we need to pay attention to and watch out for. What are your thoughts on these guys? We talked about it on your show earlier this week.
it's probably one of the I'm shocked there's only 5. Like, I would move 2 wide receivers off to get 2 more tight ends.
Really?
Because I mean, you keep 3 to 4 tight ends on your active roster. And so you've got 1 to spare right now, which is interesting to me on such a tight end heavy position. Now, I tweeted out yesterday who's going to have the bigger impact in 2023. And I put the 2 rookies, Cameron Latu
Damn, you beat me
and
too.
Braden Willis. It's 62% said Braden Willis.
It
And I
makes
agree
sense
with you.
though. But
Yeah.
it makes sense why they feel that way. Because of his playmaking abilities. But I tried on my last show, I tried to paint the picture of 11 personnel to everybody and 12 personnel to everybody. And 13 personnel to everybody. And so when you're looking at those personnels, you got 1 running back. And so when you're in 11 personnel, you got 3 wideouts out there. So my good friend who's in Alabama, I call him my Alabama scout, right? He just knows his Alabama players night in, night out, right? Day in, night. He just knows them. And so I was like, yo, what am I getting in the 2? And he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, listen, I know he was a former defensive end, converted into a tight end, but he has really good hands. He's not a body catcher. I'm like, thank you,
No.
Jesus. He's not a body catcher. We've seen that on film, though.
Yeah.
But then he talked about his blocking, and I know his blocking grade is suspect, but when you watch him in certain formations, certain sets, personnel, that's where it gets interesting. So in 11 personnel, you got 3 wideouts out there. Some things like Alabama runs. This guy's a monster mismatch on who they have trying to, match up against. So his blocking stands out and sticks out. Well, what does Kyle Shanahan want to run? He wants to come out there and he wants to put a tight end out there. You know what I'm saying? If it's 3 wide receivers, this might be the tight end opposed to being George Kittle, which they'll be focused on. Now you put another guy out there. It's going to be interesting just to see how they utilize him. Cameron Latu might be a sleeper pick that might just be the best pick in this draft.
And you talk about Scott McLaughlin. He compared him to Tony Gonzalez.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did. He said he moves like a freaking stud basketball player. And I'll say this. And so I do think that right now or earlier on, Braden Willis has a better chance, but the ceiling is Latu. But again, you listen to John Lynch, you listen to Kyle Shanahan, Scott McLaughlin, all of them said what he can be, not what he is.
Correct.
It's
Potential.
mentality, it's
Yes.
attitude, it's
Yes.
IQ, it's willingness, it's potential. He's just not there yet. And the film would testify to that, right? So Latu, I like to pick more and more. The more and more I read, the more and more I watch. But I keep saying, man, this is a bad rep. Like consistency and upside, that's what he's got to work on, and he'll get there. So I would argue early on, Braden Willis would probably get those snaps early on in 12 personnel, 13 personnel. But long term, Latu, I think it's almost like a redshirt year for him. And that's not a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying at all. So, I could see them keeping 4 tight ends. But again, as you said earlier, Wayne, very astutely, you keep 4 tight ends, you got to lose another position somewhere else.
Yeah, and we talked about keeping 6 wide receivers. So this is going to be interesting, all right? Let's go to the tackles. The tackles I have broken down. Trent's a lock. Colton McKivitz is a lock. I don't know if he's going to be a lock at right tackle, but he's just a damn lock, right?
Yes.
Matt Pryor, Leroy Watson, Jalen Moore, who they spoke highly of, Alfredo Gutierrez, and then the undrafted kid, Joey Fisher.
See, I don't know if Fisher's going to be tackle or guard.
Okay.
That's the issue. Every single write-up I've had on him is dude's moving inside. He's moving inside. He's moving inside. But if that's the case, they didn't sign one offensive tackle. They didn't draft one. They didn't even bring an undrafted one. So I think he's one of the tweeners.
You're preaching, bro. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I will say Leroy Watson probably is a tackle. He's one that I would put on there.
But here's the thing, and I do have them up here. I have Trent Williams, Matt Pryor, Leroy Watson, Colton McKivitz, Jalen Moore, Alfredo Gutierrez. Those would be my 2 tackles. A
lot of bodies.
Tackles.
A lot of bodies.
All right, so let's say we got 6 tackles, and let's say we'll up the guards to 6. So 6 and 6 still gives us 12. Off, as far as the front line without the centers, there's 4 centers as well.
Yeah. My player to watch is Matt Pryor.
Matt Pryor.
Matt Pryor. Like, I would not be shocked if he starts the majority of the season. If Colton McKivitz isn't it, Matt Pryor has a lot more experience, a lot more playing time, fits exactly what the Niners want. Like, he's the McGlinchey build. So I think Colton McKivitz gets first crack at it, but Matt Pryor, they would not be upset if he started games. I'm telling you that right now.
Why do I like? Is it me or Cole McKivitz is just like? Would he be best at swing tackle? So if Matt Pryor is your experienced guy that you brought in as a free agent that can play right tackle, if he has the better camp, I would be more comfortable in knowing that if something happened, I got Colton McKivitz as the insurance plan because he can play both tackles. Keep him as your swing, and then let him and Jalen Moore kind of like battle it out for that or something like that. I don't know how it's gonna go. They're high on both of these guys. They talk highly of both of them. Let's go to the guards. Aaron Banks, Jason Poe, Spencer Burford, Nick Zakel. That's your boy. I think it's Ilm Manning.
Yeah,
And then,
ILM.
yep, and then Joey Fisher. Uh, Fisher and Manning being the undrafted guys they brought in. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be pretty stout on, man, there's just a lot of competition. Because Zakel, they're pretty high on him. They let him change his number this year. Like, they really like it. They protected him all year last year on the active roster and then stashed him whenever you had to do your inactives. But, man, I'm telling you, John Feliciano,
That's my
like,
guy. That's the guy I
gosh,
got circled.
dude could start. He
Dude
could
can
start
start
center. He could
or
start
guard.
guards. There's a
I
lot of depth here. Probably one of the deepest parts of this whole entire roster is guard now, which
and
is
if you look,
crazy from a year ago.
yeah, and if you look at it, they have 49ers run three teams, and then there's the practice squad. So they got, when I'm going to the centers, they got Jake Brendo, Feliciano, Keith Ishmael, Corey Luciano. That's the undrafted kid. And so let's say Luciano is the one that gets kind of cut or whatever. He'll make it to the practice squad. Keith Ishmael might work with the third team. Feliciano can tween between second and third, and Jake Brendo's your starting center. I think the
And
49ers are doing something really really well. Like here, like they're building this really great machine at the
yeah,
offensive line. I know everybody feels it's the weakest link.
right tackle I think is the weakest link.
I think right
But
tackle might be, but what if Matt Pryor supplements
or
what we need?
Fisher does play right tackle. I'm getting so many DMs on Fisher. So
Okay,
like people have bought into this kid.
yeah, they really like this kid, Joey
So
Fisher.
we got to watch. Yeah, Joey Fisher. That's the one to watch. One, like, again, we're going to be at training camp this year. Where's he playing? Like, that's the thing. Like, where are they playing them? That will tell you everything you need to know. Not so much the rotation. Is he playing guard? Is he playing tackle? Is he playing left guard? Because that's going to tell you. And until they line up, we don't know. We don't
That's
know.
gonna be crazy. Let's slip it over to the defensive side. Edge rushers. I have 8 because of the undrafted Spencer Wage. I put him as an edge, but people are saying he's too big to play edge. He
He's
might
that
be.
Armstead type guy where he could be inside outside. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to do position specific with the 49ers because everybody plays two spots. You can't
thank
do
you.
tackles and guards because there's too many there's crossovers. You can't
Got you.
do edges, like, it didn't work. It just doesn't work.
Got you. All right. Well, I'm just going to list it as 8 edge rushers:
Yeah.
Bosa, Jackson, Farrell, Hyder Jr., Austin Bryant, Alex Barrett, the rookie Robert Bill Jr., who was drafted, and the undrafted rookie in Spencer Wage. Who you got your eyes on during this rookies mini camp, Beal or Wage?
Oh, Bill big time. Bill big time. And I just did a film yesterday on him against LSU in the SEC championship game. And there were some things that I didn't like about. He's so raw, man. He's so raw. And if they could correct a few things, holy cow, I'm pretty excited about him. And if he does ball out, I think Bryant, Austin Bryant could be one of the first cuts. I really, really do. Because they wanted that speed edge guy. And Austin Bryant could be one of the first guys out the door, sadly.
All right. I'm going to go with Spencer Wage. I want to see what the
Ooh.
big fella can do on the outside and how they'll utilize him in camp. And if he can show like he's not going to be your speed edge rusher, but if he show you he can stand up against some of these tackles, which we don't have any rookie tackles. That's just so weird.
Right.
For rookie
He could
minicamp,
be the new he could be the new Alex Barrett. And I don't mean that as an insult.
I got you.
Barrett's been a part of this organization for 3+ years and has done everything. Like he's Kerry Hyder light. You want to play inside? I'll move inside. You want to play outside? I'll play outside. Like that's a legit thing to be in the NFL for an undrafted guy. So that Wage to Barrett relationship is going to be interesting.
Interesting. Now to the tackles, there are no rookies at this position.
No, they are stacked.
So we'll skip over that one. Let's go to linebackers. You
skipped over the best position on the team.
I did because it's stacked, bro. Like it's stacked. We won't talk about the tackles until OTAs.
It's
right?
so good.
All right, let's get to the linebackers. There are 10 of them, John.
Oh,
we went from 5 to 10. We doubled up at this position.
And they kept doubling up. They drafted 2, then they brought in 2 free agents, like they just boom, 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 boom.
This is going to be interesting, bro, because D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Jack Coletto, and then Mari.
You put Coletto with the linebackers.
He's a linebacker, fullback,
quarterback, tight end. He could do it all.
He could do it all.
I don't know where he's going to go.
Don't. They messed up. He's the jack.
I think he could end up at tight end, but
could be because you said you wanted another one.
I did.
Possible. I'll keep him at linebacker for now. But D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Mariano Sori-Marin, man. What are your thoughts?
Gosh, man, this is what do you want? Do you want traits? Then you're going D. Winters. Do you want instincts? Then you're going Jalen Graham. Do you want the long shot? Then you're going Mariano Sori-Marin. Like they are,
awesome.
and I'll say this: the linebacking position is the best scouted position by the 49ers.
Absolutely.
They are better at identifying linebackers than any other position.
This is the position you put your money in and trust them to hit on. You know what I mean? This is it. It's going to be interesting, guys.
It's going to be fun, man.
Pay attention to those names. I know many of you are familiar with the draft picks, D. Winters, Jalen Graham. No one's talking about Jalen Graham. John, why are my eyes on Jalen Graham?
Well, okay, back to Scott McLaughlin, which he did a hell of a job. And I'll be honest, I did 294 players. I did not do Jalen Graham. I did not. I didn't watch film on him, didn't do a write-up on him. After we drafted him with one of the last picks in the draft, then I looked into him. And here's what McLaughlin said about him. Quote, I gave him a 4th-round grade back-to-back years. He's got instincts. He's got eyes. He doesn't fit the thresholds, the measurements that Niners like with their linebackers, but it's all up here, man. It's Chris Borland. It's Zach Thomas. Like, that's what you're betting on. So we'll see. Now, those are very lofty accolades, but it's that type of player, right? So the linebacker position, you can overcome traits with instincts and awareness and play recognition more so than any other player on the field. That's why John Chapman, yours truly, was a linebacker, because I had no traits besides red cheeks, but that does you no good.
Too funny, man. Too funny. Oh, Greg Escon says linebacker currency has and Johnny Holland we trust. That's our
and props to him on getting the promotion. It was beyond well-deserved. By far one of my favorite coaches on this staff. Very, very happy Holland did not leave this organization. That was like paramount one when we lost D'Amico. Like, you got to keep Johnny. I'm
going to ask you about the safety position. And there are 5 of them: Funga, Gibson, Hawkins, Odom, Brown. Why do I feel like, we'll keep 4, and then that 4th one is going to come down to Hawkins and Brown?
That is, well, Brown's a lock to make this roster.
Yeah, right. So
I mean, they traded up for him. Like, yeah. But man,
that's the camp battle is what I'm trying to say. You're going to be looking like you want to see what Taylor Hawkins is going to do at camp this year.
There were 2 guys that I was like dead set on are making this roster last year. Well, 3 because I put Mason in there, but he made it last year. It was Quantrez Knight, who we'll talk about next position, and it was Hawkins, who, man, you go back and you watch preseason, training camp, whatever.
Big plays.
Dude is where he needs to be all the time. And so I don't know what's going to happen there. And I think it's pretty locked because Odom's a lock. Special teams, one of the best in the NFL. I don't know how he makes this roster, man, and it breaks my heart. But yeah, there we go.
It's going to be interesting. Christina says that Jack Coletto is a quarterback at rookie minicamp, tight end at OTAs, and fullback at training camp. I love
I
it.
freaking love.
And don't
He can
forget,
do everything.
he plays linebacker too. So that's the funny part, right?
Yeah,
Let's get to the corners, man, because we've added depth in free agency. Your boy Quantress Knight is in here. But then they brought in 3 young guys. They drafted Darrell Luter Jr., which is the person I want y'all to watch, period. That's the guy. Watch his aggression and watch how well he plays. Now, there are plays where he gets beat, not really beat. He'll get flagged mainly, but he plays super aggressive, super bump up press coverage. That's who he is. And I'm excited to watch him play football for the 49ers. But Avery Young and your boy from Texas, Deshaun Jameson, man. So those are the three corners. Who we looking for to have fun at rookie minicamp to stand out?
Deshaun Jameson, and maybe not even for his corner play, which is solid. Like he can earn it in and of itself. It's returner. I think he could be the number 2 returner on this team day 1.
Dang.
Ray, him, Ronnie Bell. That would be my depth chart. Like
That's
he's
a nice
that
depth chart.
good as a returner.
That's a nice depth chart. Even though there was one play, and I happened to put this play out there, and people was like, "Yo, did you say this?" No, somebody said, "Well, he gotta hold on to the ball," but he still returned the shit. Like he didn't. He fumbled the ball, picked it up, and returned it. That should tell you that this kid has instincts, moves, and why you want him on this team.
He's fun, man. He's fun. I thought he was going to get drafted, but yeah, he's interesting. He does give up a lot of plays as a corner. I mean, he's a boomer bust guy. Like he's getting a pick 6 or he's getting burned over the top, and so he's got to learn some different things about his game. But the talent, the traits, they are there. This is in Miles Hartsfield. Like, where do you put Hartsfield in this? You know what I mean? Like, where they have the most cornerback depth of any time since Shanahan has been the head coach, and it's not even close. It's not even close. There's so much there. They got 17 defensive backs on this roster.
17.
And they're all versatile. Isaiah Oliver could play safety, nickel, outside.
Right.
Like, you look, Quantress Knight can play safety, nickel, outside. Sam Womack can play nickel, outside. Demo, nickel, out. Like, everybody can play all these kind of spots, which means Ambry Thomas, I don't know. He's the one that stands out to me, and I'm like, this dude can play one spot. Everybody else can play 2 spots.
Right.
Charvarius Ward maybe one spot, but he's the best at it, so that ain't going to change.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But it'd be hard for me to, if Charvarius Ward, let's say Ambry Thomas he comes into camp ready, and he's giving you Mooney Ward vibes. Mooney Ward has what, 2 years left on this contract? Are you keeping an Ambry Thomas that can be that guy that Mooney Ward is right now? Or do
we haven't seen it in a while, but remember, this dude was starting the NFC Championship game. Shoot, what was that, like 14 months ago? Like, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I don't know if it was health or if the other players. I mean, other players got better, but I don't know what it was. Like, something just wasn't right. It just didn't seem like Ambry Thomas even came into camp properly looking. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just something just seemed off. And so we'll see. But right now, he's the bubble guy. I think he's the guy that's on the bubble because
I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it.
I do,
because
tough.
that would be better for the Niners, because he's just outside corner. The dude had one of the biggest plays in the past decade for the 49ers.
It's about what have you done for me lately.
That's going to be interesting to watch for sure.
That's what it comes down to. All right, 2 kickers. Zane Gonzalez, Jake Moody. Who wins this job, John?
Jake Moody, as long as he's healthy.
As long as he's healthy.
If they moved off of Jake Moody after that pick, oh man, that would be rough. I don't think they will.
Listen. You thought Twitter was bad. Now?
Oh man, what's the saying? Hell hath no spite. Like
I thought hell hath no fury.
Twitter, that drafts a kicker. That's about it.
Woo, man. So yeah, he'll be healthy. There was a little joke that went around. They asked Jim Harbaugh, and it was like, "Hey man, what do I get, out of the mustache guy?" He was like, "Death, taxes, and Jake Moody, right? Like, those are the things you can count on."
That's the most Harbaugh thing. Like, it's just who Harbaugh is. He just says things.
Oh, I love it. I
Remember
love
what he
it.
said about Crabtree, like how he had the best hands ever of any wide receiver? Like it's just like what?
He gave
What?
he paid Matt Mayoka to say that too. No, I'm just playing.
Oh
Matt,
man.
we love you over here. John, this was a fun episode. Guys, we hope
Yes.
we gave you some insight on the 90-man roster. Listen, rookie minicamp is up next. Make sure you go back and rewatch this show so you can circle or highlight the guys that we mentioned that we feel like are going to stand out. I'm sitting here currently looking at a workout video of Isaiah Winstead. Kid is working out. He got some moves. He can cut. He can get low. And so we'll see what happens when you put the pads on. Like, that's what it's going to come down to, or whatnot. We're going to get to the contributions. We got super chat contributions for the show. All right. And so we'll do that portion and John will take us home. All right. So let's have some fun with this. All right. We started the show off with Jax, and we appreciate you for that contribution, but she just wanted to keep on contributing. So let's keep it going. We were talking about which team do you hate the most. Now, Jax says the Cowgirls. John and I can concur.
My number one most hated team.
Number one most hated team in football for us as well. And it's not necessarily just the Cowgirls. It's their fans. And all my friends like the Cowgirls. And I don't even know why I'm still friends with them, but I just am. So I'm with you, Jax. Foghorn, for all the contributions that are coming in right now. Mimi B's up next. He says, good morning, Breezy and John. Good morning, faithful. The season is upon us. Let's effing go. Bang, bang, Niner gang. This one is to your channel. Why don't you go ahead and read this one, bro?
Oh, what's up, Cinch? She says, thank you, Wayne and John, for breaking things down for us. Did you see the Sam Darnold at the Warriors game with CMC? It was funny. I watched the game. It was awesome. Warriors dominated. But
Sorry,
right before, it was like right out. Yeah, sorry, Peachy. I saw your Twitter timeline. It was very entertaining last night. A lot of middle finger emojis. Hang in there, girl. My team didn't even get invited to the dance, but that's okay. But it was so funny because it was like right before halftime or right after. They panned to Joe Montana. They panned to George Kittle. They panned to CMC, and then they faded out. Like they left out Sam Darnold, who was sitting right next to him. And so I thought that was hilarious. Obviously, doesn't mean anything, but like, yeah, it's cool seeing them support, the local teams. It was awesome. That was a fun game.
It is, man. I call it the Baywatch. They're there for each other. I would like to see more basketball players, NBA players at the NFL games, though. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Bleed Red and Gold says, what's good, boys? Pumped for training camp. Ready to see what the new blood can do. Trey gonna show out. Call it gut feeling if you want, but it's going to happen. Let's go Niners. Much love, fam. Bleed Red and Gold. Thank you for the contribution. Trey is going to show out. I do feel he's going to have a great camp. That's just how I'm looking at it. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. He's going to have a great camp. Jack says, I tell you what, Santa Clara will see me if they touch Jordan Mason. So I don't know if this is her favorite player, or if it's now Ji'Ayir Brown, but like she clearly attaches to these players.
Smart. She's smart.
And I guess they'll be seeing you. No, I'm just playing. We don't know what's going to happen with the running back position. Like Jordan Mason, just because he was a kind of a lock last season, like he has to show he's progressed.
Yeah.
To be more of a lock, and they're bringing in other guys. That's what football does. They just continue the rotation of the players at the position, and they're going to get newer and younger guys that are going to be cheaper and bring them in here just to see what happens. So
but they didn't draft one. They did not draft one,
which is something. Hold on.
Oh, I got another gold star.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And to cap off a great episode, happy Cinco de Mayo. Everyone, have a great weekend. Niners for life. Christy Marie, we love you. Thank you so much for the contribution. John, you ready to take us home, baby?
Dude, this has been every time we get together, it's a blast. Like we recorded for an hour plus. It didn't feel like it. Felt like it was like 20 minutes. Wayne, the community that you continue to build, thank you, man. This is awesome. I'm pumped, and I'm so excited about this roster. Like if you took nothing else away from this, it's just like, holy freaking cow. This was the best roster in the NFL last year, or at least one of the best.
Hold on.
100% again. Dang, I love those gold stars. Why does that mean so much?
I'm telling you, man, you racking up, man. You get five
gold
stars. You get an ice cream sandwich. All right. Take us home, John.
Man, Wayne Breezy, the family, Brady, the Breezy Brunch, Chapman, crew. I freaking love you guys. This is awesome. Until next time, stay strong, faithful.
We out, y'all. Peace.